Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com. We're going to do a video specifically today comparing how to finish a case that's done with Invisalign with MA versus a standard twin block. Invisalign with MA, if you're not familiar, is an appliance that is made by Align Technology and only by Align Technology / Invisalign, which is a type of Invisalign which helps to not only straighten teeth, but also grow little jaws in growing kids. Where versus a twin block, which is the predecessor of the Invisalign with MA. I don't know how long exactly it's been around, but maybe close to 100 years. It's been used to grow little jaws. You can also put a little expansion into it if you need to, but it does not align teeth necessarily, specifically. So it will grow jaws, you can also build it to expand arches a little bit, not a ton. But it does some of the features that this does, but not all the features that this does. But this was invented based on this. So that is why a lot of people realize that if they can't afford this lab fee, which is a fair amount, it's either going to be only offered in the Invisalign First option, which at least in the US is around $1,300 US. Or in the Invisalign Comprehensive option, which in the US is close to $2,000 US. That's without a lab discount. A lot of people have lab discounts. Whereas this can be made at any orthodontic lab globally for, I don't know, I'm just guessing, $250 to $300. It's a upper and lower appliance that's meant to be worn together. Both of these have the little rampy things where you can go ahead, when you close down, it's like a little inclined plane, basically, to use the physical term, that slides the lower jaw forward when you have overjet, which then if your jaw is always sitting in a, interior position sagittally, it will stimulate over time that jaw to grow if you still have the potential to grow. So it's not going to necessarily work if you're done growing. It's only going to work in a kid that has the propensity or the possibility to still grow a jaw, if that is still programmed within you. So obviously case selection is really important. Also, compliance is super critical for both, because if you do not wear it full time, you will not get the growth at all. So definitely an accountability loop is super important. It's a lot easier for me, which is why I generally prefer the Invisalign with MA, because I know if someone's not wearing it. First of all, they're coming in every week they're changing their aligners. But these aligners are also straightening the teeth with the attachments as well as growing the jaw. So I can tell when they come in and they bring their old aligners, which hopefully you're having your patients bring all their old aligners. First of all, you can tell if they're tracking, because if they're tracking, they're wearing it full time. Can't tell on this because you only have one appliance, right? Also, these are going to look nasty after 7 days. And you need the option of putting the wear tab on, which I think is not totally required to put the blue tab on, but some people like it. But I can tell. Obviously, if they come in and they're on aligner 10 of the MA series, which means they've been wearing MA for 2.5 months, if the aligners are totally fitting like a glove, well, then they wore them 24 hours, and that's great. So you probably will see a little bit of anterior sagittal correction. 2.5 months, I'd expect to see at least a 0.5 millimeter. That's pretty standard. That's not going to be a dramatic correction, but usually these treatment plans are 25 to 30, 35 to 40, 50 aligners, close to a year for a severe overjet. So as you see them every few months, each time you're going to start to see some advancement of the mandible. This one, if it's not worn 23 to 24 hours a day, you're not going to see any advancement. You're not going to see any change. So it's pretty, like I said, it's very difficult to create an accountability loop with the traditional twin block appliance, because there's just no way to know if it's being worn. The only way you're going to know if it's being worn is if you see the mandible advancing, but you're not going to necessarily see that till a few months in, even just enough that's even distinguishable. The other thing that I notice that is different, besides that, right off the bat, I'm going to know if something's working or not working, is that a lot of times, and you're going to see this with both, but a lot of times you do get some muscle memory that's built into both these appliances. So both these appliances are going to set the jaw, pretty much. You have some flexibility with the MA to set it, in increments which I think is actually kind of better. They do like a millimeter or two at a time, as opposed to like a full 6 millimeter jump. So with the twin block, they're going to do the full 6 millimeter jump, which isn't quite as great for the jaw joint. Instead of staging it a little bit of time, it also helps to have a little more compliance, so you don't have a giant bite jump at the beginning, with the MA. But also when you have that much of a bite jump, instantaneously, 5, 6, 7, 8 millimeters in a severe case, a lot of times you get a lot more muscle memory that's built into it, where it's not actual growth in the mandible. It's just that the muscles are reminded to slide forward. So they may come in after 6 months and you might see a great improvement with a twin block, but 50 to 80% of that could possibly be muscle memory. And this is the tricky part about the twin block. So a lot of times what I'm going to do at that point, so the question, I guess the whole point of this whole video was, when are we done? So when we are done is generally, and I have a lot more videos on this already, and I definitely would recommend, I'm not going to go as detailed into the MA portion, so go into my MA videos and watch those first, because I'm going to build on that. If you want to find those, you can go to my YouTube channel, Straightsmile Solutions. If I'm assuming you're already there, there's that little magnifying glass in the top right. You can put keywords in, so you can put in the keyword MA, and it should bring up all my videos and all my content I have on MA, and I probably have at least a dozen videos so far if I just had to guess. So I watch those first. Before you finish this, I'm going to focus a little bit more on finishing twin block today, since I've already talked about finishing MA in the other videos. But ultimately, there's two reasons that you'd either refine or decide to switch to other aligners. And I don't know if I invented this, but I think I'm the first person to talk about it, which is deprogramming aligners, which is not a thing that Invisalign advertises or lectures about. It's something that a lot of orthodontists, we use deprogramming type stuff all the time. It's just one of these things we learn in our residency. And so a lot of times orthodontists will, this is how new things happen, with Invisalign, is orthodontists will say, hey, can you do this? So, or they make modifications on the appliance, things that they've learned in braces, and they bring it over to their Invisalign to make their Invisalign cases work out well. So deprogramming is something that's not new. It's used all the time in GP practices, in ortho practices. But basically, when you have things with like shifts and muscle memory, deprogramming is a great way to find out, well, is there a shift or is there muscle memory? So go into my channel and look up deprogramming aligners, because I'm not going to go into that today, but that is one of the ways I usually finish my MA cases, with deprogramming aligners. Occasionally they finish the way that they say they're going to do, but 99.8% of the time they do not. So I usually have to do deprogramming aligners, or I do something called a sloppy bonded retainer, which is just my word of, don't spend money on this bonded retainer. Just get your braided wire, put a couple drops on each tooth, upper and lower, assuming that you did straighten the teeth, which is what we do with Invisalign. Let the bite settle and kind of just see how much percentage of that was muscle memory / shift forward. And usually the bite is going to settle down in the back, and the lower teeth are going to slide back a little bit. Now, sometimes you get a lot more slide back, in relapse than you wanted, because a lot of it was muscle memory more than you expected. And sometimes you got to go back and do the MA over again. If it's just a millimeter or two, maybe we're going to leave it and we'll finish up in some elastics later. But if it's a lot more, you're probably going to have to go back and do MA again. So to answer your question, sometimes MA is going to involve doing a round of MA, then maybe doing some deprogramming or some sloppy bondeds for a month or two. Let the bite settle, and then maybe you're going to have to do MA again. Or then most likely you're going to have to finish in some regular aligners again, one or the other. You're never going to just do a whole round of MA and be done with the ortho. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen a case like that. Show it to me. But yeah, so that's MA. Obviously, you're going to be using articulation paper to see where the bites are. I expect every MA case to have a massive posterior open bite. Whatever they put in the Clincheck is a complete lie. It does not happen. Because it's just normal. You've got these wings and you're going to be biting on them. So all the teeth that have the wings are going to intrude. So that's just how it is. So don't freak out when you see a POB with MA. It's going to be normal. And that's why I like to do the deprogramming at the end, or the sloppy bondeds, to let things just settle up, because I'd rather do that than have to force erupt a bunch of back teeth with attachments, which is not as healthy for the teeth and takes longer. Just let nature take its course. But of course, if you submit it for refinement, Invisalign is going to force erupt the teeth. So just some suggestions. Now, same thing is going to happen depending on how thick the lab makes the wings. And a lot of that's going to depend on retention and other modifications you've asked for, But same thing's gonna happen in the twin block. You're gonna get a massive posterior open bite, not a big deal. I started using deprogramming, you know, not deprogramming aligners because I didn't have aligners with my twin block cases, but I started using sloppy bondeds 20 years ago with my twin block cases if I needed to settle them, or I just put braces on. It's real simple. Just toss a bunch of braces on because all these cases were usually being finished in braces anyways, assuming that they were comprehensive. If they were phase 1 and they needed 2x4s, I put 2x4s on, and then I didn't need sloppy bondeds. So that's how I finished this is basically the opposite, what I'm doing with MA, of what I did with my twin block cases to finish them. But if I didn't, let's say I didn't need 2x4s, let's say it was a phase 1 case, then that's where I usually put sloppy bondeds on. And then if the bite settled down completely, then usually I'd swap those out later. But if it was just a phase 1, then it really didn't matter. I didn't have to have expensive bonded retainers because they're going to come off in a year anyways. So hence the sloppy bondeds. But yes, the options are finish in the aligners with forced eruption, sloppy bonded retainers, or anterior deprogramming aligners, and definitely check out the content on that. I know this was a challenging video. I'm doing my best to make it as simple as possible. And sometimes, like I said, you're going to get a lot of relapse and you might have to go back to wearing these suckers again. If it's just minor, you can just finish up in elastics. All right, thank you.